Hi there and welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today I'm going to be walking you through your 2024 KZ Connect 312 BH KSE. We're just going to start off at the back of the unit. If you notice up top, you are pre-wired for an observation camera. If you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact the parts department and they can put together a quote for you. Also right at the back, you got your spare tire and then you just got your ladder so you can get up and periodically check your seals and everything up on the roof. Located in the bumper, you got caps on either side. They just pull out of place, pull that out, and you got that sewer hose. Once fully extended, it is about 20 feet long. You're just taking note of those two ears there. Those are gonna be the same two ears that hook up to your sewer outlet, which I will go over with you in a minute. Sewer cap does just, the bumper cap does just press into place like so, and fits nice and snug. In this corner, as well as all 4 corners of the unit, you're gonna hook a 3/4 inch drive tool up to this nut here, run this foot down to the ground. Once the foot contacts the ground, just giving an 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn just to snug it up, and it's gonna take any bounce or sway you see we have in the unit right now away. With today's day and age, cordless impacts are a big thing. You can use them. It's a 3/4 inch socket, 3/4 inch drive nut. Whenever you're using a drill or impact of any sort, just being very mindful how much torque you put on these stabilizer jacks because they can bend pretty easily, so just be mindful of that. Next, you do have your standard 50 amp twist lock connection. You're just lining up this silver strip with this right here on this side. Line those guys up, push it firmly into place. And then you got that 1/8 turn to really lock it in. And then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 50 amp plug end. Now a lot of campsites don't have 50 amp service, so we do include this 30 amp dog bone adapter. Just keep it in mind when you're going down to 30 amps of power, because this unit's equipped with 2 air conditioners, you can only run 1 at a time. So just be mindful of that. And then let's say you have the unit at home, you want to turn on your fridge, or your campsite only has 15 amp service. We also include that 15 amp adapter, but again, going down to 15 amps of power, realistically, you're only running your fridge and your lights. You're not going to be able to run any sort of air conditioning off that. Once you plug it in, you got 2 blue lights just telling you have a successful power source at the top. If you were to have a red light or anything else on there, it would be just telling you your source of power is an issue. You got your main sewer outlet. Take and twist that off. You're just taking note of those 2 ears there. Those are going to be the same 2 ears your sewer hose had, and they just line up with this like so and lock into place. And then you're going to have your black valve and your gray valve. You're always going to want to empty your black valve first. It's going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets, and then you can come behind that with your gray valve, which is typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. Further up ahead, you come to your docking station. 1 minute, let me just grab my set of keys so I can show you how that works. So you're gonna have this is a key block, so it's gonna work on your purple key that comes included on your keychain. Mine's red because this is a master. Let's open that up. So this is where your main water hookup is. You're gonna thread a garden hose in there, and then depending on what you're wanting to run off, so there's city water. So if you're at a site with service, you can thread a garden hose in there, turn it on, pressurizes all those lines without the need to run your water pump. But let's say you're out boondocking or your campsite doesn't have water, you got the tank fill option. So if you turn this blue valve down like so, you go to the tank fill, and in which case, once you turn that hose on, it is gonna fill your fresh tank, and that's what your water pump draws off of. And then you got your exterior shower, which the attachment for that is right here. It's just your standard garden hose end. This end does twist off. So if you wanted to get a different end, you could put it on, or if this one were to break, to get that in, it's like your standard airline. Pulling back on the collar, pushing it into place, locking it in. You got hot and cold water at this tap. Here's that 15 amp park adapter, which I've told you about. And then it also comes with a free water hose, standard water hose. Now, right below your floor here, you got this little valve. That is your fresh tank drain. So with it in the position it is now, it's in the open position, so it drained all the water out of the tank. We just summarized this unit, and I drained all the water out. That's why that's open now, and that would be closed. Around the front of the unit, inside this battery box is the battery. It's 2700V. You got your battery disconnect switch right there. With it in the on position like it is now, it's connected to the unit. If you were to turn it to the off position, it would become disconnected from the unit. You got your propane tank cover. Loosening off those tabs, flipping open that cover. Most of the time you can do everything you need to do just right from up top, but for the purpose of the video, I'll just pull this right off. It does just slide off like so. You got your selector valve on your regulator. So with the arrow pointed this way, you're gonna be drawing off this tank. If this tank were to go empty, turn this tank off, flip it over to the other side, and then you can draw off that tank. Just counterclockwise, like any standard barbecue, trying to open it up nice and slow. Flow to the unit. You got your tongue jack right up front, manual override right underneath that cover. Front compartment, you got the manual override for the tongue jack. You also have the manual 3/4 inch drive tool for your stabilizer jacks. Oh, that fell off. Inside the front compartment, you also do have this light on this side, so that's a nice little feature in case you're needing to look inside there. One thing I did forget to mention on the other side, which we'll go back to right now. Flipping this guy open, you're gonna notice these two screws for this false panel. Take your little screws out. This would pop right out of place, and that would give you access to your water pump for winterization. A little further down the unit, you got your main door entry, which is the one we're going to be entering in through today, but I'll get to that once we get there. You got a leash latch in case you got any pets with you and you want to hook them up. You could do so right through there. And you got your Bhkse tankless water heater. So it is a tankless water heater system. We've already summarized it, so that's all done. You got the on switch that supplies power to the thermostat inside, which I'll go over once you get there. And now because it is a tankless system, it's not like your traditional ones when it comes to winterization. There shouldn't be any bypass valves on the back of this water heater, and if there is, you're not going to want to touch them. For winterization, you're just going to turn this switch off, run antifreeze right through it, and once you're done completely with your winterization, you're just cracking this pressure relief valve and opening this little brass plug. That's then going to allow the antifreeze, or water in this case, to drain out, so that because antifreeze gels up in the winter, even though it doesn't freeze completely, it does gel up once it gets really cold. It just gives that a place to go so you're not cracking any of those coils. And then you can just pop that back into place. And then a little further ahead, you got that black tank flush. So if you connect the garden hose in there, turn it on. It's very important that when you do use this, your sewer is connected and your black tank is open. Because you're pushing water into it, if the valve were to be closed, you do run the risk of bursting your tank, so just be mindful of that. And then right down below the floor here, you got your two low point drains. So that just drains any water that's inside the lines. You're always gonna wanna do that after winterization as well. And then if you're just servicing any faucets, it just helps with some of the mess that it would encounter. Propane quick connect in the back there. So if you had a barbecue you'd want to hook up that you're bringing with you, you can use that. You also have something inside this rear little kitchenette. Pop this guy open. It is on its own assist strut, so it lifts up. Got a 120 volt mini fridge, so if you were plugged in, that's going to be working. It doesn't work off 12 volt. You got your exterior sink, nice little feature. Storage, and then right here, you got your Suburban griddle, sliding that guy forward. You're gonna notice the griddle top we just left it inside here, just so it closes in nicely. You got your propane quick connect hose, so it works like a standard airline. Pull it back on the collar, open that guy up. Now, in this situation, run this cord down. You got your other end right here, right below this elbow. I forgot to mention, you're going to notice this valve on here. You're always going to want to make sure the valve is closed. If the valve is open, it's not going to allow you to operate the coupler, just as an added safety feature. So close that valve, pull the collar back, push that into place so it locks in. Then you can open up your flow of propane. And then if you follow this cord down, you got your trailer end, pull the dust cap off, put it in place, pull the collar back, push in, locks in, and then the same thing, opening that valve, and it would be as simple as lighting your skillet. Same thing to reverse it. unpull it, turn off your flow, unpull this, and then what I like to do with this hose, just so it doesn't get any debris or anything inside of it, you just wrap it along itself and plug it in. Then you can tuck it away into your griddle, of course making sure it's cool before you put anything in there. That way you don't melt anything. You'll be done. So now we're going to take a step on inside of the unit. Of course, one thing again I forgot to mention, whenever you get to your campsite, you're always going to want to open up these flaps so that it allows that range hood to evacuate those fumes. And whenever you're traveling, just snapping it back into place so that you don't get any excess dust inside the unit. Push that assist handle up, fold it 90 degrees, it'll lock into place. At that point, you can open up your door. I'm going to mention this now, in case I forget to mention it when it comes time for the awning. If you open up the door all the way, which the door has to be, fold your stairs down by the way, it's going to come into contact with that awning arm. So whenever you're bringing the awning in or out, always making sure you have the door folded 90 degrees so it allows that arm space to move freely and not causing any damage. To get your stairs down, again, door fully open, pull the tab, the stairs are going to start coming towards you. You do have adjustable feet through the adjusters right here. That's just to make sure you have nice and level stairs campsite needs. Then you can take a step on inside. First thing you notice off on the left is going to be that fire extinguisher, just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. Now up on the wall, you get to your monitor panel system. You can connect to this through Bluetooth. You are going to have to download the KZ app though. You got your living room light switch, turns on all the living space lights. Awning light switch just turns on an LED right underneath the awning. Water pump switch, self-explanatory. It's going to turn on your water pump, and then you got a couple different accent lights. Accent light 1 is here. Accent light 2 isn't hooked up to anything, so further down the road. If you got another accent light, you could hook it up to that switch. And then you got your awning and your slide out switches. Whenever you're running your awning, you're just pushing and holding that extend button. The awning's going to start making its way out. And you're going to know that awning's fully look at me not following my own advice and not making sure the door is fully closed. Oh, 90 degrees. You can run that awning out, in which case it's going to extend itself. Once that awning's fully extended, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hang down. Unfortunately, today I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get the awning all the way out just due to space. So there you go. You're going to start, you hear the flap start to come down. So I'm just going to retract it a little bit so I can show you the way these arms work. Now, if we were to start raining, you can take any arm, front or rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to then run off. Now, if you like that angle better, you can do the same thing with the front arm, and it's going to allow for more shade underneath. Just always making sure you do push those arms back to straight before you bring the awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. And then to retract it is as simple as pushing and holding that retract button, making sure it's rolling the right way in. And once the arms contact the side of the trailer, it'll automatically cut out. And of course, making sure your door is 90 degrees. Then you got your slide out switches, always making sure you know what's on either side of your slide, inside and out, before you operate it, because even inside, sometimes things tend to shift and could cause damage. So pushing and holding that out button, the rear slide out is going to start making its way out. You're going to know that slide out is fully extended. When you hear the whines and the clicking of the motor, while that's doing that, we could just go over the monitor panel system right here. That's again all self-explanatory. You got your fresh, your black, your gray, third, 2/3, and full. Slide out 1 is going to be this main slide out. Now, unfortunately, today it's going to work the same way as the back one, but again, due to space, I'm just not going to be able to get it fully out. So we'll get it out as much as I can, just so you get the gist of it. So that is going to be about where I have to stop. We'll just take a start into the bedroom. Light switch just on the wall. Your main bedroom. You got reading lights on either side. They're on their own center push buttons. All the blinds in the unit do work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. And one quick retract will allow it to retract back up. I'm going to mention this blind over here is broken. I did place another one on order today, so it should be here within a week or so. I think I'd have to get into contact with parts to just confirm, but that's why this one's stuck down. It's just broken. I left it in here because I don't want you to be without a blind. Underneath the bed, you got some storage space. Then on the wall, you got your thermostat for your front air conditioner. So again, if you're running 2 air conditioners at the same time, you do need 50 amp service, but you can pick and choose which air conditioner you run, whether that be the front or the rear individually on 30 amp service and be fine. This is pretty self-explanatory. Where you have this is where what the room setting is going to be. It's not hooked up to the heater. This one is just for the air conditioner, so we'll go over the other one when we get there. You got your system settings, so that's going to be off. Fan. So fan is just moving air around with this air conditioner, no heating or cooling involved. You got high, low, and you're going to notice auto. Auto only comes into effect when you have it on the cool setting. It makes it an on-demand system, so once the room senses that temperature, it's going to kick out the air conditioner completely. If you were to have it on the on section on high or low when you're in cool, that fan is going to run full-time regardless of the room setting, so just be mindful of that. One more time to the left would get you to cool, so now that fires up the compressor. That's it for that. That's it for that thermostat there. This door here, you're going to notice you got this travel strap. Always making sure whenever you're traveling it is latched, because this will slide freely and cause damage if you don't. You do have a TV backer over here as well. Sorry, I forgot to mention. TV backer. Right at the top here, you got your main cable satellite outlet here. You notice this little black button. It turns on that green light. That does turn the antenna on the roof. I typically leave them on just because it also improves radio frequency, but it's going to be a personal preference thing. Taking a step into the main living space, you do got your entertainment center. Again, another TV backer, cable satellite outlets, and then you got your stereo, which is pretty much just like home, minus the fact of having zone A and zone B. Zone A is going to be your interior, zone B will be your exterior. Storage all around. Over here, you got your couch. You're just going to pull up at the foot of the couch and fold out, and you get yourself another bed in case you were to have guests. And then to get it back in is the total opposite, except you do have to grab the top of the couch a little bit just to assist it back into place. Now getting into your kitchen area, sink, hot and cold water, not much I'm going to show you there. Microwave, just like home. Then you got your range hood fan. I always recommend running this range hood fan whenever you're running your stove, just because it helps evacuate some of those propane fumes, which, since we're going over that now, I'll mention right down here, you get your LP detector right here near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, you're just getting no worrisome levels of oxygen inside the unit. So just open up some windows and turn on some vents just to ventilate that out. It is also very sensitive to cleaning products, so if you're ever cleaning the floor or spray a cleaning product around it, it starts going off, it's probably just that, so you could probably just silence it. But again, use your best judgment. Getting back to the stove now, to get it to light, you're just pushing that knob in, turning it over to the pilot option and hitting the igniter, and it does fire right on up. Typically, if you've had the propane system off for a while, it doesn't fire up as quickly because you have to purge all the air out of the lines, because once the system goes off, it does allow air into the system. So just be mindful of that. Sometimes it can take a few minutes to purge all the air out, especially when it comes time to lighting the oven. But yeah, it is as simple as that. Then to getting to lighting the oven, it's the same idea. Pulling this down, you got 2 different light settings here. You can turn either just the knobs on, it's a nice little accent, or you can turn the oven light on. And then to get the oven to light, turning it over to that pilot option once again, pushing and holding it in, hitting the sparker. You're gonna see that sparker going off, and like I said before, the oven is a little more finicky because the gas orifice is so small, so it takes longer to purge. Like I said, just be patient with it. And there you go. You see it does light. Now that that pilot's on, just pushing and holding it in for another few seconds until it can hold its own. Then you can turn it up to your desired temperature, and it does fire right on up. Now you could go just back to that pilot option, so you don't have to go through all that again. I recommend just turning it right off because that's just the way I am, but personal preference thing, once again. Whenever you're folding this down, it is glass, so just be mindful of that. Be nice and gentle with it. Then you get to your Furrion fridge. You just got to pull down on there, and for the freezer, pull up on there. The controls for both are just right down here. You got your charcoal filters, that is to help with fridge odors. We do sell replacement ones at the shop. Again, just contact our parts department and they can put together a quote for you to get set up with that. And then you got your temperature setting. This is for the fridge and freezer, clockwise all the way is its coldest setting. Anywhere before that is a cooler setting. And then you got your off-grid rating there. That is just letting you know the most energy efficient setting to have it on when you're running off battery power, which is 12 volt. If you're plugged into shore power, it won't make a difference, but if you are running on 12 volt, that is the most energy efficient setting to have it on. So we'll just leave that on there for you to know. Then you got your main fuse and breaker panel, pushing and folding that down. You've got all your breakers. Whenever a breaker trips, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. And then you have all your fuses on your right. Over here, you're going to notice you got your dinette area, and you can also have it into another bed. You just have to take these back cushions and put it where the table is now, and you have yourself another bed. And then to get the table out, it's just as simple as pulling it off its ledges, folding out those table legs, and again, you'd have yourself another seating area again. This is going to be the fire exit. Pretty simple, just pulling those two tabs out of the way, pulling these two red tabs. The whole window will fold right out, and you can hop right on out of the unit. On the wall here, you got your thermostat. So this is going to be the one that's hooked up to the furnace, and it is going to be your main thermostat. Pushing it once, it illuminates itself. Pushing it again, you get the fan low. So again, just like in the back, that's just a fan moving around air using the air conditioner. No heating or cooling involved, and it does move all its air through the ceiling ducting we have throughout the unit. One more time, you get the fan high. Same thing on a high fan. Now you get to cool high. So this is that setting I was talking to you about, where that air conditioner is going to run full time regardless of what you have the room setting set to. One more time, cool low, which is just a low fan. Now you get to the auto. Auto works the same way as it did in the front bedroom. It comes in an on-demand system, so once the room senses it's at its temperature, it's just going to cut that air conditioner out. Same thing, but on a high fan. And then you get to heat, which kills the air conditioner, fires up the furnace. Furnace only has one setting, and it moves all its air through the floor portals we have throughout the unit. Storage all throughout here. Opening up this door, there's that second entrance, which is for the bathroom. It's nice for guests. Light switch on the wall. You get your main GFI plug, so if you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I would check. Test in the bottom, reset in the middle, and then you get to your Bhkse water heater thermostat. Power button to turn it on and off. Up and down anytime to set your set temperature. So that's going to be the temperature you want the water heater to heat the water to. And then that's going to be what your current output temp was on. And if you were to turn on a tap, there'd be a little fan that kind of came on, and then there'd be a water faucet with water coming out of it, letting you know that there's water coming out. Then there would be a little flame option letting you know that the water's heating. Change between Celsius and Fahrenheit with the press of a button. Toilet, sink, shower. Other than that, your basic bathroom. And then I'm sure this could be one of the best parts. Is the nice bunk room we got in the back here. Light switch on the left. You do have a couple of USB plugs throughout here. Lights on their own center push buttons. Another fire exit works pretty much the same way. You got this little red tab. You're going to pull that. The whole screen will pop out of place. And then you can take this handle, push it out, and hop right on out of the unit. This side here, you have another little dinette area for the kids, which is super cool in my opinion. You can also turn this into another bed space. Same idea. Pull these legs out of their holes. Set the tabletop on the ledges, and then back cushions fill in the center. And then right up top, you got another bunk bed. We got it folded up right now. It's just as simple as pulling these latches, and this will come right down. And again, you do have another bunk space. Storage all throughout as well. That is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.